At just 10 years old, Althea Santos had a voice that didn't match her tiny frame. Most people in her small Filipino neighborhood knew her as the shy girl who carried a second-hand guitar almost everywhere she went. What they didn't know, what even she didn't know, was how much power that voice would soon hold. But on the night she walked onto the stage of America's most beloved talent show, clutching her microphone like a lifeline, the world was about to find out. What made her different wasn't her voice alone, it was the reason she was singing. Back home in Cavite, her father, Marco, lay in a hospital bed battling a heart condition that had been worsening for months. He was the kind of man people remembered, someone who stopped to help strangers lift heavy bags, someone who fixed neighbors' broken fans without charging them, someone who always believed his daughter's voice could carry farther than the noise of the world. But illness doesn't care about kindness, and with medical bills rising and her father losing strength, the Santos family was running out of options. In a moment of desperate hope, her mother sent a video of Althea singing to the talent show, a shaky recording filmed on an old phone. They weren't expecting anything. They certainly weren't expecting a call from the United States. When Althea arrived in Los Angeles, everything stunned her. The tall buildings, the cold air conditioning everywhere, the way strangers smiled at her when she walked past. But nothing overwhelmed her more than the stage itself. She had never seen so many lights. She had never heard such loud applause. And she had never felt so alone. Backstage, she held a tiny folded paper between her palms. It was a note her dad had written before she left. The handwriting was shaky, but the message was steady. If your voice shakes, sing anyway. The world is kinder than it seems. When her name was called, she stepped into the spotlight. Cameras zoomed in. Millions watched. The judges sat up. The host asked what brought her there. Althea swallowed hard, and with a voice barely louder than a whisper, she said, "I want to sing for my dad. He's sick back home, and I want him to hear me from wherever he is." The audience grew still. Even the judges softened. Something about her honesty so pure, so unfiltered, cut straight through the noise of a world used to polished stories. The music began. She chose a song her dad used to sing to her when she was scared of thunderstorms. In the U.S., most people knew it as a classic, a comforting reminder of gentler days. But to her it was home. The first note floated into the air, and everything changed. Her voice trembled at first, like a leaf caught in a breeze. But then it grew warm, steady, luminous. People leaned forward without realizing it. Phones paused in midair. A mother in the audience wiped her eyes before the second verse even began. Something about the way Althea sang, something raw and unpolished yet beautiful, sincere, reached across the room and landed in every beating heart. By the time she reached the chorus, she wasn't just singing for her dad anymore. She was singing for every parent who had ever sacrificed quietly, every child who had held onto hope a little too tightly, every family that had felt the sharp edges of fear. Her voice carried the weight of love that refuses to give up. But halfway through the performance, something unexpected happened. Up on the giant screen behind her, the producers displayed a live video call from the Philippines. It was her father, pale, lying in a hospital bed but awake watching his little girl from thousands of miles away. When Althea saw him, she froze. The audience gasped. A judge covered her mouth. For a second, everything became painfully quiet, as if the entire room forgot how to breathe. Her father lifted a weak hand and mouthed, "Keep going, Anak," and she did. Her voice cracked with emotion, but it also soared. She closed her eyes, letting every memory her dad teaching her guitar strings, her mom braiding her hair before school every night whisper of "Kaya mo, yan, you can do it," flow straight into the microphone. The judges weren't just watching a performance, they were witnessing love take sound, shape, and flight. When she hit the final note, a silence hung for half a second, the kind that clings to the soul. And then the room erupted. People stood. People cried openly. A man in the front row pressed his palms to his face. A woman hugged a stranger next to her. The hosts hurried on stage, overwhelmed. One of the judges, known for being blunt and difficult to impress, shook his head slowly before speaking. That wasn't just singing. That was courage. That was love made audible. His voice trembled. "And we need more of that in this world." Althea covered her face, overwhelmed. She had no idea what to do with this kind of attention. Back home, the largest crowd she had ever sung for was her school's Christmas program. Now millions were watching, and millions more would watch again online. Then came the moment that transformed everything. Another judge leaned forward, her eyes glistening. "Althea, I don't know how to say this, but America is standing with your family tonight." She pressed the golden buzzer, the symbol of ultimate recognition in the show, and the whole place exploded into gold confetti. But that wasn't the real gift. The judge continued, her voice shaking. "We spoke with the network, and we want to help cover your father's medical treatment." The audience erupted again, louder, fuller, overflowing with relief and joy. The hosts hugged her. Even the cameraman looked emotional. Althea stared at the confetti as it rained down, whispering, "I can't believe this." But somewhere across the ocean, a man in a hospital bed smiled for the first time in weeks. He wasn't thinking about illness or fear. He was watching his daughter live the dream he had always told her was possible. And now, because of this moment of compassion and generosity, he had a fighting chance. After the show, producers gave Althea a moment to speak to her dad privately. No cameras, no noise, just two hearts reconnecting across continents. Her father's voice was thin but full of pride. "Anak, you made the whole world feel something tonight. I did it because of you," she whispered. "Everything I know you taught me." He laughed softly. "No. You had it in you long before. I just reminded you." The next morning, the video of her performance went viral across the United States. People shared it, saying it made them call their parents, hug their kids tighter, or simply cry without knowing why. It reminded them of softness in a world that often forgot to be gentle. News stations called her the little Filipina who made America cry. But that wasn't really the truth. She hadn't made anyone cry. She had made them remember what love sounds like when spoken without words. In the weeks that followed, support poured in for her dad's treatment. Letters arrived from strangers across the U.S., sending prayers, hope, and stories of their own families. It was a reminder that kindness wasn't limited by borders, languages, or time zones. It was universal, like music. And when her father finally improved enough to talk longer, the first thing he asked was simple. "When you come home, sing for me again." She promised she would. In the end, Althea's story wasn't just about a girl singing on a stage. It was about the extraordinary things that can happen when someone follows their heart despite fear. It was about strangers choosing compassion. It was about a father's belief and a daughter's courage merging into something powerful enough to reach across an ocean. Most of all, it was a reminder for America, for the Philippines, for anyone who had ever loved deeply, that sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest truths. And sometimes those voices can move the world.